So, but I was at work, and they said, you can't miss, on my orientation, you can't miss any time in your 90-day probation, or you lose your job. And they said, so we, and I know they're saying it's flu season and da-da-da, but we can't, if you're sick in this 90 period and you miss work, we'll see you as a liability and da-da-da. So they're just making sure people come to work, even if they're sick. And I'm thinking in my mind, it wasn't a haughty thing. I thought, well, that's not going to be an issue, because I honestly don't get sick. I've never had the flu in 16 years. I don't get head colds. I don't get nothing. And don't expect to. It's not the common cold. There's nothing common about me. So if well, yeah, but brother, it's really going around. What does that mean? What do you mean it's really going around? So that's what we say. Well, I got that. It's really going around. There's a mentality that embraces things and gets embraced by things. We don't realize how subtle it is. That's not some arrogant, hi-ho thing I'm preaching to you right now. What I'm saying is I've been through some trials. I've had some things. I had my head hurting so bad for 2 weeks in a row, once a day, it would hit me, and I couldn't hardly see, and the pain was unbearable. And when you go through that for 2 weeks, after the first 3 days, and you start feeling it come, you know it's coming. And you're, Father, I just thank you, but it's coming. And it's already hurt you for 3 days. So now your flesh is going, oh no, not again. That's the temptation, right? I can't take this anymore. No, man, I come across a certain way, but I'm more of a warrior than you probably realize. I don't love my own life unto death. I don't believe I do. And I'm just not afraid of the war. I'm just not. I'm a peacemaking, loving guy. I'll love you all day long. But you're not the devil. I'm not afraid of the war. You get what I'm saying? See, I feel that all over me when I'm talking. It's like, ah, this thing's hitting me 2 weeks in a row. I thought something's wrong, brain tumor, something's bad. I mean, it would come. And then it hit me twice in a day, which just seemed. And the time it hit me twice in a day, it hit me in the evening, and I was at home. My wife's watching me suffer. You have no idea. I would be like, Jesus, Lord Jesus. You have no idea how ugly it was. It was so much pain. I went through 3 things of witchcraft, and then this thing hit me years later. This was just 7 years ago. I can't tell you how bad it was. Sometimes things look for an opportune time. They come try to get you in a certain place, get you to say, well, I know I shouldn't have it. I had victory over it. I don't know why. All that crazy stuff. I don't do that. My mind is so gripped here, I don't even wander nowhere. I ain't even asking the questions, and I ain't even thinking of answers. Now's not the time to grope and grab. Now's the time to be in Him. If I'm searching here and here, I'm not fighting the good fight of faith, that's for sure. And if I got all these questions, I'm sure letting everybody know I'm not sure whether I'm coming or going. No, the reality is I had serious pain in my head once a day for 2 weeks. But the truth is, Jesus is Lord, and we're going to win, and this thing is not changing nothing. So my wife, she's feeling really sympathetic for me, and that's not a terrible word. She's just feeling bad for me. If you saw him really hurting bad, your heart would cry for him. You'd be like, oh my gosh, because you feel for him, because you're one with him. And it would be like, that would be a hard thing, because you love him, right? Like, just the suggestions getting her emotional. You're amazing. She was like, man, I thought she was going to hold him or something. She just seems to, I was so good. I just feel it. Down, hairs, down. So my wife, it's 3 a.m. or something like that. She hears me staggering through the house moaning. And she comes into the kitchen, and I'm leaning over the sink, holding my head. I can't even stand up. I'm just moaning, but here's the cool thing. My heart is so alive and okay and at peace. Can't explain it. I've been in it before. I'm not a wreck. I'm not thinking, oh, I can't take this. When is this going to stop? Why does this? Because that's just me. And I'm saying, punch me, it hurts. Come on, it's our language. Why do I got to go through this? I hate this. Why am I going to, oh my God, I don't want to go through this no more. And it's just, it begins to be a complaining thing, and it makes rational sense, but you're just saying, punch me, it hurts. There's a place where as much as it hurt, it didn't have any capacity to touch my heart whatsoever. My heart is so separate from what I'm feeling because of building myself in this gospel. It's a militant thing. It's like a boot camp idea. It's just trained in the gospel. Yeah, you don't wait for war to train. You train, and when war comes, you're ready. Do you get that? Come on, if we waited for war, we'd lose for sure. Rachel? It's there. I don't even have to guard my heart in this area. It's an established precept. But there's a guarding your heart with truth, of course. There's a guarding your heart if you get tempted with... We all have the ability to think things negative, think things contrary to truth, even though our hearts are sincere and there's things established. So guarding your heart is just keeping sure your heart's in agreement with truth and not letting any rightness come in to give you permission to be less than who he is. So that's a good thing. She said, is that not like you don't have to guard your heart? It's just already there. In this area, yeah, Rachel, that wasn't I didn't have to do a conscious protect my heart thing because... You can get established in truth. You see what I'm saying? But guarding your heart is, okay, out of the blue, somebody does something totally unexpected. And all of a sudden you say, I can't believe they did that. And you start thinking on it way deeper than you're even to consider. And I can't believe they did that. And after all they said, now you remember on promise, and now it's broken. And oh my God, next thing you know, you don't know who you can trust, because if I couldn't trust them, I couldn't trust everybody. That is not guarding your heart. That is running your mind to the detriment of your life and everybody around you. And now you have 10 reasons why you're hurt. Serious. But no, in this situation, I'm leaning over the sink. It's so fun for me. I'm leaning over the sink of my wife. She flips the little light on and she says, honey, oh my gosh. And she wants to cry. She's rubbing my shoulder. And I'm in trouble, it seems, to her eyes. To the flesh, it probably looked like I was in serious trouble. People that love you don't do well in those situations because we're more sentimental than spirit-filled led. It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying. We're like, oh no. So she says, honey, she says, what is going on? How long is this going to keep happening? I can't stand watching you. You're in so much pain. How long is this going to happen? I don't remember the quote, but just the concept. I remember chuckling out of my heart, chuckling. Oh, I was in so much pain, it was ridiculous. But out of my heart, chuckling, and I said, don't you understand, sweetheart, that's not the question. It's not about how long and how long is this going to happen. It's not about that. It's about who I am and who I am in him. It's about that not ever being able to change. And that's what wins. My life is not my own. And you just can't hurt me or touch me or something like that. And I sat up saying that. And when I said that, it was like, that was the victory. That was the whole concept. Satan was trying to get me off of that, and I can't come off of that. It's not about, yeah, but if you were in faith, then why are you hurting? It's always about the superficial idea of just the natural. Yeah, but we're always caught up with the pain. But then why 2 weeks? Well, how come? Well, why isn't God delivering? Well, there has to be a stronghold. Well, there has to be a root. Well, there has to be... Wonder if in this process God is cultivating and growing something in me and revealing, like through fire, precious gold that's proved and tested to the praise and honor of glory of Jesus Christ at the revelation of him. Wonder if the trial is perfecting something and God's not even backing off the trial. He's just sitting there watching me do what he's put me in position to do and come out with a greater revelation than I ever had before. When I said that about it's about who I am, and I sat up, I remember the pain started backing off, and this boldness and this like a fire came up my belly. It happened the one time with the witchcraft when I went ballistic. And I said, don't you realize, Kimmy, this whole thing makes me untouchable. It's not about me being touched. It makes me untouchable. And I started to proclaim truth, and it was like an explosion. It was like somebody put a stick of dynamite in my ear, went, and I'm telling you, that thing blasted out of me. I was so crystal clear, I didn't feel like I had hurt even one day. I was so full of the Spirit of God and so sure that he was Lord and that my life is his. I was like a madman. And it was like that thing took me to some of the stuff you see come on me when I'm preaching it's because of all those things. See, you can tell people have been through fire when there's that passion in their eye. When you can hear it's coming out of their heart because they know it. I'm not preaching philosophy to you. I'm not preaching a theory. It's what I've become. It's what I've lived. I've tasted and seen. He's so good. Doesn't matter that my head was hurting. Who cares that my head hurt for 2 weeks? Why is that the principal thing? I'm raising my voice on a purpose. To stop everything else and make a point here. Do you get it? Who cares that I hurt for 2 weeks? It took me to a great thing. Is that giving myself permission to be pummeled? No. It's not making big what's not big. It's not letting get so big what's not really the issue. Right. The pain in my head wasn't the issue. What it was going after is the issue.
Yes. Yes. Amen.
What it was trying to uproot is the issue. But if we're so self-serving and self-loving and self-imposed and the pain matters so much. It isn't about the pain 2 weeks into it. It's about the principle of the thing and what this thing is after. And what you have no permission to get from me. Because it came from Him. And I'm going to hold on. Even if I die, I can't die. Do you get what I'm saying? You got to get that militant. Now that's militant. And that's not afraid then. And it's never about your pain. It's about your heart. When I had that witchcraft thing, I'm telling you. That thing was real. And it felt like I was dying. And I was so not even moved by that. I was so like, it isn't even about death ever. To my family, they're watching me pass out and lay out on the floor. You know what my wife was hearing in her head? Dan, or Kim, your husband Dan is so bullheaded and stubborn that he'll lay here and die in front of you and the kids before he goes and gets help. That's what she was hearing. What a lying little devil that doesn't know a thing. For one thing, I didn't lay there and die. Here I am preaching to you. Yay. I knew it was witchcraft. I didn't need 911. I knew it was witchcraft. The Lord showed me what it was. There was stuff going on. It was witchcraft. I don't need anything but Jesus. You could say, well, diabetes is witchcraft. Don't take your insulin. No, see, if you're taking something and you're in faith but you're separating yourself from that and you're growing in identity and walking in healing, that's great. But when I know it's a demon spirit grabbing me, doing something, and they can't even physically identify it, and it's demonic, I don't need 911. I have everything I need. So I just stood my ground. And I had every Christian telling me I was in spiritual pride. I had no one in my life understood and locked arms with me, which is okay. But isn't it amazing how many responses we have without the truth? My heart got imposed on so many times. Well, you're just in spiritual pride. You're ashamed to go to the doctor because you preach so passionate and so unlimited that if you go to the doctor, you don't want that on your resume, and you just don't know how to preach through that experience. And I never even thought of any of that stuff, but everybody else was thinking that stuff. I'm like, what? Wasn't in my heart until now. Now I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking, no, that's silly. No, my simple thought was, this is the devil. Jesus already won. Let me fight the good fight and we'll win. That was just simple to me. Leave it at that. This is the devil. Jesus is Lord and I'm in Him. We'll win. Yeah, I know it looks ugly. It doesn't matter. It's not always pretty, but it is in the end. You come out with more knowing than before. It's not pretty all the time. If you get your eyes on that, if you get your eyes on the garden and the beans that aren't sprouting, it's not always pretty. It's not what you envisioned. And you go through a season where you can't see what you see. That's what makes it faith. You follow me? That day that I was laying there, felt like I was dying. You know what went through my head? Dan, you're such a great believer. You're such a noble man. You really do live this gospel. Sounded like I was getting a pat on the back. But you do not have to suffer like this. Enough is enough. You don't need this kind of pain. It doesn't change anything if you go get help. You can just go get help. It started to begin to be a doctor thing and a hospital thing and all the things the people were saying. It started to be, and my wife, he's going to die in front of you and the kids if he doesn't get help. Now that voice wasn't applauding me like it was me, so it probably wasn't God, huh? So it's playing on the emotion of my wife. Your husband's so bullheaded and stubborn, he's going to die in front of you. So it's a self-serving thought. Yep. Full of sentiment that almost the whole world and 3/4 of the church would back up. Yep. Over on my end, I'm hearing, oh, you're such a great believer, man. You got nothing to lose. Look, you already went farther than most. Come on, just go get some. You don't need this kind of pain. Nobody wants you hurting like this. It felt so good to my flesh hearing that. You have no idea. When I heard that, I thought, yeah, no pain. Yeah. I was hurting so bad, you have no idea. And to my mind and flesh, I was like, oh, give me something, anything, whatever. I'm thinking that for a minute, like, oh, but not that I wanted to. I'm just thinking, no pain. Yeah. And I thought, you know what? I do. I've hurt so bad, I'm going to pass out in front of her. They're going through so. I need to go get help. I looked at my wife. She's looking at me with these big brown eyes, thinking what she's thinking. I'm going to die. And I went to say, Kim, maybe we ought to just go get some help. I was going to say it out of my mouth. It's the first time in my life that I understood what it means that God won't allow you to be tempted more than you can bear. I've never totally understood what that scripture means, but for you, I'll always provide a way of escape. Do you know where it says that in the Bible? I was beyond what I could bear. My flesh, who knows that your flesh has feelings and it's real? And when you're in that kind of pain and you're ready to pass out, you're in more pain than you think you could ever tolerate and endure. And I was going through so much that I couldn't put it into words. I had kidney stone years ago, and I thought that was bad. They say that's the closest a man will ever feel like to child labor for a woman, the kidney stones. And I'm thinking, God, I'm glad I'm a guy. And not a woman with 5 kids. Because if I had to go through that every time, I'd be like, because serious, in my flesh, I'm thinking, this hurts. Well, this pain so blew kidney stone out of the water, it was ridiculous. It wasn't even a comparison. And it was like taking my vision, my consciousness. My kids and wife found me. I was dragging through the house because I'm a warrior. I'm a fighter. I was holding on to a railing upstairs. I was going, as the deer pants for the water. That's what they said I was doing. I don't know what I do. And they surrounded me and prayed in tongues and prayed for me, crying, and it seemed to get worse. Who's ever had that happen? Then your mind really goes, huh? So I'm laying there and this voice says this, and I was ready to say, let's go get help. And when I went to say, maybe we need to just go get some help and get rid of this pain for now. I can't. God, get rid of this pain. When I went to speak, I couldn't say it. There was something inside of me that said, that isn't what I've been standing for. That's not my answer. That is not what you locked into, Dana. And I hesitated just for a moment and didn't say that. And in that little moment, I heard this small, still whisper of a voice down inside. And here's what it said. Don't believe the lie. I'd never experienced anything like this at the time. But I sat up and consciousness came on me. It was sovereign. It was the Spirit of God. Because I passed this thing. I jumped this hurdle. Somehow I had held on. And God saw me as a warrior. He was like, faith has taken you. You crossed this line. Because I didn't give up my identity. I held on to the point of literally death. And this revelation came. I sat up. I don't know how all that works, but I know we co-labor with Him. I know we work out our salvation with fear and trembling. I know we follow the finished work of Jesus, lay a foundation, and we never look back. That's what I was in the process of. I sat up and I said out loud, when you hear Holy Spirit, it's good to say what He says. He said, don't believe the lie. I sat up and I said, I will not believe the lie. Now I had strength in my voice. Well, I couldn't even lift my arm. My arm, what was this arm? I couldn't even lift my arm. My arm was in so much pain in my body that I couldn't even move my arm. Guys, this thing was so intense that I had my kids. I got this bright idea that if my kids would raise my hand like they did Moses's in the battle, that we would win. It works. It sounded cool and prophetic. Cost my poor kids big time. They were like 12 and 7. And I'm screaming at them, passionately lift my hand. And when they move my hand 4 inches, I'm screaming like they're killing me. And they don't want to hurt Daddy anymore. And I'm saying, it's okay, lift it. Ah! Ah! You have no idea. It was so dramatic. Ah! And they're like, Daddy. I said, it's okay. Jesus is Lord. Lift my arm, kids. And they got my arm up high, and I said, yes. And I lifted my arm and said, it's not works. I said, even as Moses in the battle, when Aaron and Hur lifted his hands, God, I will worship you. It sounds so noble. You'd think God would just come and say, good boy. But it's not what I do. If my kids are bawling and they got my arm up and they're bawling, my kids are bawling because they feel like they're helping kill Daddy. That's how militant I am and passionate. See, you might not even be ready for that behind the scenes. Telling my kids, get my arm up. Now they have to put it back down. And I didn't think it could hurt worse, but when they put it down, and then it was even worse. And that's when it led to this whole thing. But I sat up, I said, I won't believe the lie. And I stood to my feet. It's pretty overwhelming. And all of a sudden, my arms that I couldn't even lift were up high. I can't explain the fire that came into my stomach. You know, we talk about the belly and fire in the belly. Oh, it was fire. It was holy and it was powerful. It came in me. I felt like a lion. I felt undefeatable, invincible. I must have felt a glimmer of what God lives in every day. He's Almighty God. He fears nothing. And yet He's perfect love. He's not some arrogant, power-surging, need of attention. He's not weird and twisted. He's all-powerful and perfect love. Oh, what a blend. That's my dad. My dad is all-powerful and perfect love. So I got this fire thing on me. I got this is all feelings. This is all ministrations of spirit. So I'm very aware of them, had my share of them, believe me, over the years. I just don't talk a lot about this stuff, but this is what happened to me. But see, what took me there wasn't praying for a breakthrough, believing I already had one. The stone's already rolled away. And the breakthrough for me is not loving my own life unto death, and it's not about the pain. It's about the glory of the cross and the integrity of the gospel. I stood up and said, I will not believe the lie. And I stood up and I raised my hands real high. And I started to speak into the realm of spirit because I knew this witchcraft thing had been tracking me, trying to get me whatever it tries to get you. Like this, what's next, scared of it. I yelled out of my spirit. And I don't talk like this. This isn't my way of talking. I know it was just, I got overtaken. It's the time I told you earlier, if there was any time I ever wished I had on tape, it was these next 10 minutes. That's when the crystal waterfall, this is the time when the ceiling opened and the water poured on me. But I said this out of my mouth. I said, I had my eyes wide open, my hands raised, and I'm like, I can't even tell you, I felt like a warrior. I felt absolutely invincible. And I yelled and I said, how long will you, like an uncircumcised Philistine? I didn't know who I was talking to, but I knew I was talking to something. I said, how long will you uncircumcised Philistine, stand in the field of my life and hurl threats at a child of the living God? And when I said that, there was this spiritual explosion I can't explain. And my body was so invigorated. I mean, they show commercials drinking Gatorade and getting revitalized. If they could bottle this stuff. It's when this waterfall, if I could have just had some bottles. Just standing there, and I had my eyes open, and that's when I looked up, and that's this waterfall came on me. It was just ridiculously amazing, because God is my Father. And when I stood off the floor, that's when I preached the revelation of Christ. But I addressed that thing, how long will you stand in the field of my life and hurl threats? Every assault to your life is a threat. It's saying you're not who you say you are, you'll never be who you say you are, the gospel's not true. Every adversity to your life is suggesting something contrary to truth. And believing you'll take it personal and bite the bait through lack of knowledge. Every assault has that attached to it. But every assault by God is designed to take you to a higher place and be more like Christ than you've ever been in your life. So your trouble is not your trouble. He said, I'll be with you. Pastor Don preached the other week. So I'll be with him in time of trouble. It didn't say I'll keep him from trouble. I'll be with him in trouble. What's changing just because my head's hurting? What's changed? Is the stone still rolled away? Is Christ still mediating? Is the Spirit of God still in me? Then that's my battle point. And if I let those things change who I am, I won't walk in the glory of what he's accomplished. That's why the just live by. And if you don't settle first, see how this all ties up? Right at quit time, watch. If you don't rejoice in the fact and get established in the fact that you've been reconciled, you'll let all these things question where that reconciliation even is. You follow me? And you'll compare this to this that's already done. That's why I'm taking so much time on some of these topics, so that we're rooted, grounded in love. So that you can never change your mind come hell or high water. Because whether I see this thing or not in my ceiling, it's flowing. Yeah. I found it in my Bible. It's a crystal river. It's flowing. There's trees along it. Their leaf will never wither, and they bear fruit. And the healing of the nations is on those trees. Must be us. You get it? It's a crystal river. It flows from the threshold of the temple. Yeah, and guess where he lives now? Guess who the temple of God is now? Guess where the river flows from? Out of our belly shall flow rivers of living water. So there's like crystal rivers. Man, it doesn't even make us flaky believing that. It's just crystal rivers. It's real. It's the Spirit of God, the glory of God, and goodness of God. Amen? I didn't